number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Patrick Cristiano, your host, the publisher of TheaterLife.com, a website for theater buffs covering all things theater. And we are coming to you from the LTV studio in Wainscott, where I have a really special guest, Scott Schwartz, an internationally renowned director, the artistic director of Bay Street, and the man of the moment, because you've just opened a wonderful production of Camelot in a field behind the Carvel in Bridgehampton.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm thrilled to be here today.
Oh, welcome, Scott. Thank you so much for coming. It's my pleasure to have you. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Me too, me too.
So we were just there at the opening of Camelot on Saturday night.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It was, in many ways, better than the original.
Oh, thank you so much.
I
I
mean-
mean, I love this show. It's one of my favorites, and the songs are so great, so I'm thrilled we're able to bring it here.
And I don't know where we want to start. Do you want to start showing the production stills? Do you want to talk about how it came to be? I mean, what was your vision for bringing Camelot?
Well, there were really three reasons that I felt now was the time for Camelot at Bay Street. It's been on my mind really since I've come to be an artistic director at Bay Street, which is now 8 years. This is my 8th season here.
And you have done incredible jobs.
Thank you.
I can't, you know, what you've done with Bay Street in 8 years, you've taken it so many levels beyond where it had been.
Oh,
And
thank
the
you.
shows are consistently wonderful, just always consistently wonderful. I mean, you just directed Golda's Balcony. It was fabulous.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely fabulous. And I hear you're going to move it, maybe.
Dr. Ruth, you mean, becoming
Oh.
Dr. Ruth. Yeah, well, we're
Balcony,
hoping
Tova.
it's, well, Tova, of course, and I did direct Golda's Balcony on Broadway. Tova Feldshuh, of course, you know, was brilliant in both.
you.
And we're hopeful that we're going to be able to bring it to New York later this fall, you know, fingers crossed. So keep your eyes open for that. But back to
Yeah,
Camelot.
I'm sorry for the digression.
No, I'm a happy digression
Yeah,
because
you're-
I loved that show and was really proud of it. In terms of Camelot, as I said, it's been kind of on my mind as a potential show to do at Bay Street really ever since I got here, because one of the things that I think we've developed is a kind of house style of approaching musicals. We take these large musicals that normally you see in very large theaters or on Broadway and that have very big production values, and we strip them down to their essence and really focus on the characters and the relationships and the music and the text.
My Fair Lady was like
My Fair Lady,
phenomenal,
another
absolutely phenomenal.
Lerner and Lowe show, is a good example of that, or our production of Evita.
Evita also, just fabulous.
Thank you. And so I thought Camelot was sort of ripe for that treatment, because it is this sort of big, sprawling show, and when you see it in a full production, it's wonderful, but there's a lot going on, you know, and there's such a powerful core story, which is this love triangle between Arthur and Guinevere and Lancelot, which is complicated and very contemporary feeling. And also, it's the story of a man who's trying to make a better world. You know, he's trying to make a world that is more just and more equal, where power doesn't simply beget more power. Might is not for might is for right. And I thought, given the last 2 years in our country and around the world, what better story to tell? So that was one of the reasons I thought.
Antithesis of what we've been through.
Well, but also that we are trying now, I think, as a
Oh, yes.
country and as a culture, to change and to make things fairer and righter and more equal. And I thought to see a show about that, and listen, a show about people who try to do that and ultimately fail, but give hope for the future, I thought that was a very compelling reason to do it. The other reason that I really wanted to do it now was, you know, we decided to be outdoors for our big productions this summer. You know, we made that decision months ago when
And
we
this
were
is the
still.
first musical you've done in 2 years.
This is the first musical we've done in 2 years, and we felt, you know, we wanted to sell it to, you know, a large house. We have 200 seats available for every performance. That's what our permit allows, and we wanted to do it with the full cast. And being unsure where we were going to be in the midst of the pandemic and would it be safe to be inside?
Yeah.
What would the requirements be? We thought, let's do it outside where it's really safe for people. We all know that, you're far less likely to be exposed to COVID if you're outside than if you're inside. So we had made the decision to be outside months ago. And I felt Camelot was a perfect show. The show takes place in somewhere in the past in England. I kind of think it's maybe pre-Norman Conquest in my imagining. I'm thinking sort of 800 AD-ish, around the time of Alfred the Great.
I'll go with that.
And go with that. But that was a time, obviously, where England was very wild
Right.
and very rough and very covered in trees. And most of the show actually takes place outside.
It's perfect to do it
And so I thought, well, let's be outside and let's have nature be a participant in the show. And the magic of nature and the sort of spirituality of being in a natural space, I think really contributes to the musical.
It's just a beautiful. Let's show them some of the production stills.
Let's
that we have now.
please.
And let's the cast. You want to help me because I don't remember
Oh,
the names.
we have just
it's
an
Arthur.
amazing cast.
So
Yeah.
you want to talk them while the stills are on?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Well, that's Arthur and Guinevere. That's Jeremy Kushner, who was the original Wren in Footloose on Broadway, and Brittany, who is in the upcoming production of Company that's going to be opening on Broadway, and they've both done many, many Broadway shows. They're both phenomenal
They're
in the
wonderful
show.
together too.
Thank you. There they are again. This is one
I
of
love
their
this photo.
romantic, playful scenes. Yeah. And you can see a little bit of the environment. That's Devon Calori in the front, who plays Lancelot, and he has this amazing, rich, deep voice, and he's so charming and funny and
And he has
moving
a
in
sexy
the role.
presence too.
He's very sexy. Yeah, no, we're lucky to have him. He's just brilliant in the show. And you actually see behind him David Lamar on the right, and on stage right, I guess, our left, and Hope Hamilton, who is the daughter of the founders of Bay Street. And we can talk a little more about Hope
And when
later.
he sings "If Ever I Would Leave You," it's wonderful.
Isn't it
It's just
marvelous? I
wonderful.
mean, it's
There's
such a
so many
great
richness to
song.
his voice. There's so many colors to it.
I really wanted somebody, because you kind of want to hear that kind of voice, because Robert Goulet created the role. I wanted somebody who would bring that kind of wonderful bass sound to it, and he's very successful.
And look the part too.
And look the part, exactly.
Besides be able to just sing it, right?
Yeah. So there he is again, and there he is with Jeremy, Arthur, and our wonderful Mordred. Now in this shot, he's actually not playing Mordred. He plays in the first act Lancelot's Squire Dapp, but he plays Mordred.
Oh, he's
Aaron Delavia
he's a
in the
stand-up.
background. Isn't
Absolute
he
stand-up.
marvelous? He's
And-
such a spectacular
yes,
actor,
yes.
and he's really interesting and
And he
complicated
was
as
especially
Mordred.
fabulous as Mordred.
Oh yeah, and he
Just
brings a real
oh,
humanity to the role, but he's really scary too,
Yes.
which I think is fun.
You know he might do anything.
Yeah. Oh, and this is some of our wonderful ensemble. Right there in the front is Kyle Lopez Barisic, who's done a couple of shows at Bay Street, including My Fair Lady, and he's the host of our Sip and Sing. And of course, that's our Guinevere. This is from the lusty month of May.
It's a beautiful, beautiful musical. It really is.
you.
It's one of the best. And you have Julie Andrews' granddaughter
Well,
in the
indeed.
production too.
Yes,
and
well,
making
Hope
her
Hamilton, who I just mentioned, who's Emma Walton and Steve Hamilton's daughter, and Emma and Steve, of course, were two of the three
Right,
founders
right,
of Bay
yes.
Street. Emma's mom is, in fact, Julie Andrews, and so it's very moving to all of us and powerful, I think, to have her as a part of this company. Of course, Julie Andrews played Guinevere in the original production.
And because she's in it, she came to see it on Saturday night.
She
and I
did
was
indeed.
lucky enough to be standing there when you two were talking right afterwards about the show and how well it went, and she was sharing these tidbits about the original.
Oh, first of all, she was so gracious and so kind and lovely and supportive. And
I loved it.
she
absolutely loved
really,
it.
she told me she loved it, so I'm gonna choose to believe that she really
Oh, she
did.
did.
You
I
know,
saw
she
her.
seemed to be glowing, and she also actually came a few days before opening just to meet the cast in rehearsal
cool.
and talk to us a little bit about the show and her experiences with it. So she's been
how
very
lovely. Oh, she's so
supportive of us, and she's a wonderful woman, and obviously, one of our greatest actresses. So what an honor for us to have her with us.
Yeah, that was really extraordinary.
Yeah.
Dame Julie Andrews. So now, we've got so much that you've been doing. I'd love to talk a little bit about your production on the West End.
Sure,
Of
sure.
The Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, well, The Prince of Egypt is based on the DreamWorks animated film. It's the story of Moses and the Exodus. And we're doing it on the West End in the Dominion Theater. It's a massive production. There are 46 people in the cast.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but I just want to insert, Camelot, we didn't tell them it's going to be playing through the end of the month.
Yes, we run now. It's early August as we're speaking, and it runs through the end of the month. And it is in a field, outdoors, completely open air, right across from the Bridgehampton Commons, kind of behind the Carvel. But I want to make sure
Plenty of parking.
plenty of parking, massive field to park in.
And everybody's requested to wear a mask even though you're outside, just to stay safe.
Exactly, and it's very comfortable.
Very comfortable. I had a great time.
I think it's what's beautiful in this field. It was given to us for this time period by Carol Connor, who's one of our board members, and we're very grateful to her, and we're very grateful to the town of Southampton for being so supportive of us and allowing us to do the show there.
I thank you, Southampton.
Bravo to them, and they were really
because
great.
This is not something they would normally do.
No, normally the most you can get for an outdoor event is 2 or 3 days, and they've allowed us to be there the whole month. But what's really great about this field is you pull in and there's this huge area to park, but then you go to the left and there's this sort of little semicircle of trees, and the stage is set up in the trees, and you kind of tuck back in there, so all you're seeing is nature around you. It's a really beautiful area.
When you're sitting in the theater, you don't feel like you're anywhere near the highway. You don't
Not at
feel
all.
any of that. You feel like you're in the middle of the woods.
That's exactly right. No, we're so lucky to have this location.
Well, you created it, though, in a way.
Well, I mean, we didn't create the nature,
Right,
but we took advantage of it, I guess.
You took advantage of a particular spot there.
Yes,
to
yeah,
make
it was
work.
a great location.
So Scott, before we get back to the Prince of Egypt, I just want to show everyone. I went to Scott's website, which I'd never done before. I don't know why, I never did. But when I saw it, there's like 2 pages of all the things that you have done and directed. I was just blown away, and I've only seen a few of them. One of my favorites was Rooms, by the way.
Oh,
too.
thank
I
you.
love that
Oh,
show.
thank you so much. I was very proud of that show. Little tidbit, our musical director on Camelot, Matt Hinckley, was the guitarist on
get
Rooms.
out.
So there's a little connection there.
Oh, I really love that show. Those 2 people had fabulous voices, too.
Thank you. It was a great cast.
And wonderful music, too.
Yeah, I loved that one. That was a 2-person musical. It was really fun.
I was disappointed that didn't go further.
We
and I
got the
thought it
run we
should.
got, and it's been done other places, but it was a show that I really loved. I worked on it for a number of years, actually, to get it
I
to
didn't know
off-Broadway.
that. Well, we didn't know each other then.
No.
But no, you just did The Prince of Egypt, and it's reopened. It opened before pandemic, and then it opened again after the pandemic. You've been struggling with it a little bit.
Well, we literally opened February 25th of 2020, and we closed 3 weeks later because of the pandemic, because everything had to shut down. So we only got 3 weeks of full finished performances in before the pandemic. It was doing very well. It was selling very well before the pandemic, but then obviously everything shut down. We were closed for 15 months, and we reopened on July 1st. And I have to say, I'm so excited about the show. I got to go over to London to help reopen it. It's the same cast, and they're just marvelous. And the show's in such good shape, and we've been having great audiences, cheering standing ovations at the end of the show. Actually, at the first performance, 3 songs just stopped the show. The applause went on and on and on. The opening number, which is a song called Deliver
my
Us.
God.
There's a song called Through Heaven's Eyes, which was in the movie, and then When You Believe, which is a very famous song because it won the Academy Award. And Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey recorded a pop version of the song that stopped the show. Stopped the show dead. When You Believe got a standing ovation in the middle of the second act, and then the applause at the end were wonderful. But the thing that's been challenging is we reopened on July 1st, and we've had to shut down again twice because of COVID. And the rules in England is if anybody in your company who's exposed to anybody else tests positive, anybody who's been potentially exposed has to quarantine for 10 days, and they can't they can't test out. You can't get a negative test and be allowed to go back to work. So literally on a musical, you have the cast on stage, and if a few of them, enough of them are exposed to a person who's tested positive, they have to quarantine. In England, they're calling it the pingdemic because you have an app on your phone and you get a ping if you've potentially been exposed, and as soon as you get a ping, you can't get out. No matter, even if you're vaccinated, it doesn't matter. The good news is
It's going to change.
it's going to change on August 16th, so
Yes.
literally this week, or actually beginning of next week, sorry, top of next week, that those rules changed. And if you're fully vaccinated, you do not have to quarantine. And so once that happens, we expect that Prince of Egypt will be able to not have to keep closing and reopening and closing and reopening. We're starting again this Thursday on August 12th. And then hopefully from there on out, we're just sailing ahead. And, so far the audience response, as I've said, has been great, and people seem to be coming. The houses have been very full, so we hope that continues.
Well, I hope we get to see it here, too.
I would love that. That would be great. And here's another tidbit about Prince of Egypt you may not know. The very first public outing of the show was a concert reading of the first act that we did at Bay Street. My second year, 13, I think it was 13.
I was there because I did interviews with
It was
people.
the gala. It was
Yes.
for our gala, and we did a reading. We had wonderful
My father
actors
came,
in
I
it.
interviewed
He
him. He
did,
was really
yeah.
cool.
Patina Miller was in it. Norm Lewis was in it. A great Aaron Lazar. It was a great cast. And so Bay Street actually was the birthplace of this show that's now running in a 2,000-seat theater in the West End of London.
But you only did a little segment of it, just a little.
The first act.
Yeah.
We did the first act.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously there were many further steps, but Bay Street saw it first.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. Well, I guess in this case that is true.
I remember I interviewed your father, and I said how daring this was, and he said, "Oh, it's reckless."
It was a little reckless, but it went very well, and the audience liked it, and now we made it all the way to
Well,
London.
that's how you make things happen.
Yeah,
By
you
being a
gotta
little
dive
reckless
in.
the beginning.
Gotta just dive in and do it.
So,
Exactly.
now you have this other show in Seoul, Big Fish. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful musical based on the Tim Burton film and a novel, Big Fish. And it had played Broadway relatively briefly a number of years ago. And I was approached by producers from a company called CJ E&M, which is a major, it's a huge corporation in Korea that does many different things, but they have a theater producing wing. And they
Mainly entertainment.
They do lots of things,
Wow,
actually.
wow,
They make, products, and they do entertainment, and they have
It's
a
all
film
about
and
the
TV.
money.
Well, I mean, they're a very successful multinational corporation, so
Yeah.
I guess it is. But they love theater, and they love art, and they produce theater. They also invest in Broadway shows, and we're one of the investors in the original Big Fish on Broadway, which was directed by Susan Stroman. And anyway, they approached me and they said, we want to do a production here in Seoul, which is a major theater town. They do a ton of
Wow.
theater in Seoul. They have big,
You ever
big-
been there before?
I'd never been there before. And they said, we'd like you to direct it. And I figured, why not? Why not go to Seoul
Well,
and
you've
be in
never been,
Korea and
yeah.
experience it? And I had a wonderful time
Now,
there.
when did you do this?
This was also right before the pandemic. It opened in
Did you go alone?
December of 2019. I did go alone, but my family, Julia and Esme, my daughter Esme and my wife Julia came over to visit for 2 weeks at the end. And Esme loved Korea. She was 3.5 at the time, and she still talks about it. It was like her favorite place. And I'm very happy to report that the show was very successful when it opened, and it had a limited run. In Korea, shows don't run open-ended. They have sort of set runs, kind of like at Bay Street. And it ran, I think, about 10 weeks, and then the pandemic hit, and so we stopped. But we're going to be remounting the show in 2022, and I hope Esme gets to come back to Korea.
Well, I hope she gets to go too, because it sounds like she really liked
She
it.
loved it.
I don't know how you have time in the background to make babies.
Oh.
Scott has a new son,
I do.
Simon, who is absolutely gorgeous.
He
And the
is.
two of them, it's like you have the perfect life at the moment, it
I
seems like.
sort of feel that way. I was sitting there on opening night of Camelot, and I was thinking about, I have this amazing family, my wife Julia, who's incredibly talented.
I
We have
love
such a
Julia.
good
She's
relationship.
Just fabulous. We adore her.
And she's an actress and a writer, and also now a yoga teacher and practitioner. And Esme, my daughter, is 5, and my son Simon is now almost 4 months. I mean, it's It's actually a really good time, coming out of a very tough time for all of us. It's a really
Having all
good
these
time for
exciting
me.
creative things to have your fingers in at the same time too.
It's
Is
it-
just really. What else do you have planned for Bay Street?
well, I mean, Bay Street is back.
No, I mean, do you have ideas for next season yet? Or
Oh
would you
yes, oh
talk
yes.
about any of that, or
Well,
no?
I'm not going to share any titles because we haven't made the official announcement. But what I can tell you is, first of all, we're going to have a full slate of programming in the fall and winter, so indoors. And we may ask people to be masked. We'll see sort of where we are in terms of governmental, requirements and recommendations. But we will be producing indoors. We have a new work series, which are going to be 4 new plays, which we're going to do staged readings of in September. So the week after Labor Day and the following week, we'll be doing readings. Each one will have two performances, and we have 4 very interesting plays by a very diverse set of writers. We're super excited about that.
Oh, how cool.
Our new literary manager, who we hired during the pandemic, her name's Hope Villanueva, who's terrific, and she's based in D.C., though she was there on opening night at Camelot. She's put it together and found 4 terrific plays by really good writers. So that's at the beginning of September. We're going to be doing concerts and comedians and film showings and events at Bay Street all fall and winter long, and our Literature Live program, which of course is a full production of a work that is considered a classic.
Literature Live is incredible. It brings literature to the children of Long Island, and they wouldn't have many opportunities to see stuff like this
for free. We invite
yes.
schools, we schedule performances for schools, high school age kids.
Right.
And we've done many shows, and they're full productions with professional
This was something
actors.
you originated too. wasn't it?
Actually, no, I can't take credit for
Oh,
Lit Live.
sorry.
It was in existence before I joined the theater. Tracy Mitchell and Gary Hygom,
Oh, yes.
who has moved on to another company now, but was the producer at Bay Street. They founded this program. But it's a full professional production. We always do it in November. We've done To Kill a Mockingbird, The Great Gatsby, Raisin in the Sun. I mean, wonderful,
wonderful.
wonderful works. I'm not able to announce the title quite yet because we're vacillating between 2, but we're going to pick really soon. But we will be doing that, and we offer it to schools for free. And so we get over 3,000 students a year come and see these shows live. They get to be in a theater. We do talkbacks with the actors and about the subject matter. And then we also offer it to our community as a full production that they can purchase tickets to in November. So that'll be happening around Thanksgiving, usually the couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. And then, on we go. And then next summer, our expectation is, assuming we're allowed to, by the government and by the pandemic, which we expect, given that everything is fully reopened now, we expect to have a full season of plays and musicals next summer on our main stage.
Well, God willing, I hope it all happens too. And I just want to make another pitch to get out there and see Camelot. It's on until the end of the month. It's just wonderful. You go to baystreet.org. You'll find out how to get tickets. Is that correct?
That's right, baystreet.org. You can also call 631-725-9500, which is our box office, and arrange tickets. And it runs Tuesday through Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and then Sundays at 5 p.m. And the show is actually not super long. It's about 2 hours and 10 minutes with 1 intermission.
No, it's very nice. It goes very nicely. It's lovely to be outside too. It's just terrific.
It's really special, I think. We're so proud of it.
It's fun too. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It gives you a good feel. And also, just having been through what we do to get outside to experience theater.
Oh my God. It's such a blessing and such
to go
a
back
joy.
To church.
It is a little bit, a church of entertainment.
Yes, it really is. Anyway, no, we didn't get to talk anything about The Big Fish, which is an opera that you directed and may be coming around. We have a couple of minutes.
Oh, Seance on a Wet Afternoon,
No,
you
we
mean?
didn't get. Did I say Big Fish?
Yes, we did talk about Big Fish.
I'm really messing up today. I don't know why.
Oh, no
But
worries.
I meant Seance on a Wet Afternoon, and we didn't get to talk about The Hunchback of Notre Dame either, which are 2 projects I wanted to.
Well, Hunchback of Notre Dame is the based on the Disney animated feature, and I've directed it in many places, La Jolla Playhouse and Paper Mill Playhouse in Japan and Germany, and I'm very pleased that it is going to be opening in Vienna in
Wow.
2022 and reopening in Japan in 2022.
Will you direct the one in Vienna too?
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
it'll be my
fabulous.
production. So I'm very, very excited about that. That's been a wonderful production for me that I've gotten to experience now many times. And there's an opera which my father wrote called Seance on a Wet Afternoon that I directed the original production of at New York City Opera. But we're in some talks with the producer about doing a scaled down theatrical version. So hopefully
love
you'll
that
see
story.
that in a theater. It's quite spooky and quite scary.
The story's terrific.
It's a fantastic, really complicated, gnarly story.
Thank you for correcting all my errors today. It's really kind of you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for
And
having
thank you
me.
so much for coming and giving us Camelot today. This month. It's really delicious.
Thank you. I'm so pleased with it and so happy to be here.
Well, I'm going to have you back.
Thank you.